Tom Trento, the United West, here with another amazing show, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to dig into a fabulous and critically important book. You see it behind me, you see it right here, Manufactured Crisis by our good friend James Simpson. Jim, in the early days, graduated with a degree in economics, worked for the White House. He's an investigative reporter. He's done all kinds of stuff, written books on the issues we're going to be discussing. And he's got a message. He's got a message for America today. And with us is our dear friend, CLARE LOPEZ, an associate of mine at the United West. And we're excited, Jim, to have you here today. How's life? And what are your thoughts about what's going on in the world right now?
Well, hey, Tom, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me. Oh, where to start? My gosh. The whole world is, well, two things are happening. On the one hand, it's unraveling before our eyes. And on the other hand, there's this resurrection of Western society and Western culture, inspired, I think, a lot by President Trump and his absolute refusal to accept any of the left nonsense, his total rejection of it. And then, sadly, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which I think really brought out that spirit in people to a much greater degree than had been before. I mean, it was really a horrible thing that happened. Charlie was a great man and he was doing amazing things. And that's why they killed him, because he was so effective. There's one thing I know about the left has nothing to offer. It has nothing to assign itself except destruction. Their only concern is image, and they are looking really bad. And he was very effective at making them look really bad simply by debating them openly and showing them what good America was. And they hated him for it. And he had to go. And my fear is that Erica Kirk better have a lot of protection, because I think that they would consider doing the same thing to her, a double win. These people are truly sick.
And these people you referred to in your book in a very unique way. I mean, you're a scholar, so you write in a very analytical, deep, scholarly way, but you have the capability, and I'm advising everyone to read this book. You have the capability to succinctly, clearly draw key points out. Claire, you have served the United States government for many years before you retired, and one of them three-letter agencies. You've served all over the world. You worked for think tanks. You've spent your life committed to defending the national security of the United States of America. And what is your quick assessment as to the need for patriotic Americans, MAGA Americans, in the next 3 years? What should we all be doing with this little window of opportunity that exists right now?
Right. So thank you. Very glad to be with you, Tom, and of course, Jim as well. Absolutely need to get that book and put it on my reading list. Where we're at right now, and what I think many people don't understand, is that we are in the early stages, or maybe the middle stages, of a communist Marxist revolution. Now, most people around today don't even know what those things are. They do not have any knowledge of Karl Marx or the Communist Manifesto that Jim has written about in the red-green axis, or the alliance of the Reds, as we would call them, with the Greens, that is the Islamic movement, the Muslim Brotherhood and its front groups here in the United States. And so even as the President Trump has issued a memorandum about a month ago, end of September, well, less than a month ago, September 25th, 2025 this year. It is a memorandum on countering domestic terrorism, and it's a whole of government plan for going after these anarchists, these rioters in the streets that are committing mayhem. And that is needed. That's absolutely necessary to go after them. What they don't understand and don't speak about in this memorandum or anywhere else I've heard is what is behind this, what is driving this. And that would be, again, the history that Jim has written about. We have all talked about the history of communism and Marxism in this world. Where did Antifa come from? German communist. That's why its whole name is Antifascistische Aktion. But nobody knows what that is. So I think we have a double job. One is to go after the groups individually that may be causing the mayhem, the anarchy on the streets, and that would include groups like Antifa, like these queer, what is it, the armed queers of Salt Lake City and groups like it, but also the funders, and then as well to understand what the ideology is, the Antonio Gramsci's ideology of the long march through the institutions that brings this to us now and includes groups we never even thought of before, like these transgender groups, with which Tyler Robinson, the accused assassin of Charlie Kirk, was affiliated with. All of these things are coming together, and I don't think they have, at the top levels of the government right now, the whole picture. They're going after the symptoms, if you will, the street rioting, the groups at the local level, but they don't understand where the ideology comes from that has been infiltrating our society for the last 100 years.
May I step in there for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted you to comment, and in your comment, you call your book, you named it Manufactured Crisis, the War to End America.
Yeah.
As you respond to Claire, help us understand why you selected those words as a title.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, you may not have heard, but just yesterday or the day before, Pam Bondi announced that not only were they going to go after Antifa and groups like that, which are really just the paid revolutionaries that have been showing up at riots since the Seattle riot in 1999. This is the same group. They're professional revolutionaries, anarchists, communists, whatever you want to call them. These are paid agitators. And they are very much all of one mind and wanting to see the destruction of America, whether they call themselves socialist, communist, anarchists, or whatever. They're really all the same mind. But she announced that they were going to go after their funders as well. And I raised that issue in my book. It's extremely important to know because the manufactured crisis is an idea that was popularized by two socialist instructors at Columbia University named Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven. And they wrote an article describing how they would create a crisis in the welfare system by overloading it with beneficiaries and causing local governments to collapse. And then in the ashes, they would propose their solution, which was a guaranteed annual income for all Americans. Now, the thing is, Lenin said back in 1917, we create crises, we exacerbate crises, and if they don't exist, we claim they exist and then deepen them and then blame the enemy, blame the other side for causing them, and then provide solutions that will create even larger crises in the future. And so Cloward Piven's idea was to pack the welfare rolls, and Richard Cloward was the inspiration for Johnson's Great Society, which widely expanded welfare. Now, Johnson was thinking about how many new Democrat voters they could get by making people addicted to, government benefits. But Cloward was thinking something totally different. He said that welfare was dousing the fires of rebellion, and they wanted the poor, primarily blacks, to be unhappy, angry, and ignorant, because happy, successful, prosperous blacks were not going to be any use to them. So the welfare program was his first idea because it greatly expanded welfare. You know, welfare today, back then it took up about 3% of the total budget. Today, well, if you exclude Social Security, it's somewhere between 30 and 40%. I don't know the exact amount, but it's
Unbelievable.
gigantic. And so they wanted to see that. And then they created subsequent crises. They wrote the National Voter Registration Act, which is what gave us the massive vote fraud that we are experiencing today, and then made worse by Nancy Pelosi's passage of mass mail-in ballots. But all of these things are designed to create larger and larger crises until, as Lenin said, the target capitalist society is destroyed entirely. And so that's what it's really all about. And a big part of that is the funding. As I mentioned in my book, Cloward and Piven inspired creation of the Office of Economic Opportunity, which created about 10,000 tax-exempt organizations, all paid for by the government, all staffed by leftists, so they could basically use tax dollars to build their revolutionary army. Today, well, in 1991, there were 500,000 tax-exempt organizations. Today, there are 1.5 million tax-exempt organizations, almost all of them left or radical left. Hundreds of them were helping the open borders crowd. And we have to defund those. We have to RICO them because they're basically racketeer, influence, corrupt organizations. And we can take them down that way. We can take down their leaders. And if we can't do that, we have to, at the very least, remove their tax-exempt status, because none of them, tax-exempt status is supposed to be nonpartisan. None of them are nonpartisan. They are overtly partisan and use those billions of dollars they have basically stolen from America. You know, as Sun Tzu said, you know, use the resources of your enemy, both to suck him dry and to make you wealthy. And that's exactly what they've been doing. We need to destroy that source of income for them because that's the biggest source of their power.
You've been using the term we. I really want, in the remaining moments we have, to give the patriotic conservatives something to grab onto. When they hear the term we have to stop the federal government's abuse over here. Going, how do I do that?
Right.
So dig down a little more deeply. How can this administration, do they have the knowledge and wherewithal to slow down or stop some of these deep state agencies? But more specifically, the guy listening and watching this who really wants to do something for America, what could they do specifically to help save this country?
Well,
and I know, folks, we're not going to be able to get into all of it, but in the back of his book, he's got 20 pages on what to do. So give us some highlights.
Yeah, no, the most important, I think, really, well, there's a number of them. We need to recapture more of the media. You know, the media is not in the tank for the left. The media has been a leader of the left since the 1930s. And the media, in my eyes, is one of our most dangerous enemies because it has so misinformed us. But it's good to see that a lot of media is now either being bought up by conservative organizations, or new media is springing up, so more people are getting good information rather than misinformation and disinformation they get from the media. So that's a big one, and we all need to support that. But individually, people can go to their state and local governments. You know, we ignore local government, and that's how we get all these lefty judges. That's how we get all these lefty city council members, and those people then go on to take positions in state government. We have to pay close attention to that. Those people can do that. Those people can lobby their state legislatures to change voting laws, especially voter ID, absolutely essential, voter ID, and so many other of the laws that, as you say, I list in the conclusion of my book. That's a huge one. School boards. We are fighting back against school boards. We need to do a lot more of that because school boards are the ones who are deciding to indoctrinate our children into transgender ideology, critical race theory, and other very negative ideologies rather than teaching them what they need to learn to succeed in the world, reading, writing, and arithmetic. You know, the Baltimore City government or city schools has the highest per student cost, about $25,000 per student. And yet most of them don't graduate able to read or do simple arithmetic. It's just insane.
Claire, your understanding of the folks behind the manufacturer crisis, the actual thinkers and movers of the Communist Party USA, the CCP, what is their role, do you think, specifically? And Jim goes through a lot of detail generally, specifically the Communist Party's role in the New York City mayoral election with Zoran Mamdani. I mean, everybody's thrown out there. He's a communist. What is your analysis?
Well, the first thing I would say is that we can recall, Tom, when we from the United West, you and I and a couple more, were in downtown Washington, D.C. in January of 2024 for the thing they called the March for Gaza. The website is march4gaza.org. Go to that page. That website is still up. I just checked it. Go to the button on the homepage that is called Endorsers, and your homework is done. That is a list of over 300 groups that is a who's who of the red and the green, communist, Marxist groups, and Islamic Muslim Brotherhood front groups. And then quickly, the other thing I'll say is that the thing about funding that makes it so difficult to go after them is that there is no one group. You can't draw an org chart with this at the top and then all the other boxes coming down below. It's not like that. It is a classic insurgency cell model at the local level that these cells are, many of them, absolutely not even connected to one another. And that goes for the funding as well. The funding very often comes, as Jim was saying, through layers of NGOs. But even more importantly than that, way more importantly, is the disaggregated raising of funds through things like GoFundMe, Venmo, Craigslist, and so forth, completely unattached, unconnected. And that's where a lot of the funding is coming in for these piles of bricks that are waiting on the sidewalk and all the gear. You see them in the same outfits with the same gas masks and the same backpacks and so forth. That doesn't come through anything organized.
Yeah, Jim, Claire, we're going to have to wind it up. But I want, Jim, your concluding thoughts. This is a heavy-duty book. There's a lot in here, but again, Jim is a very clear writer, very important information. But when you go through this, you're laying out a horrible, horrible scenario, actual existing context for the deep-seated problems in America. While you're writing, you're on page 200 and you're writing and doing research. Do you feel like there's no hope? The more stuff I read and research, and you've been doing this for 40 years, there's no way out of this. It's too far gone. Or do you think there is hope for saving America? And if you say, yeah, there's hope for saving America, what does saving America mean? I'll let you conclude with those thoughts.
Okay, well, you're exactly right. It's very depressing, and it's been depressing for a long time to see these things happening, especially when the solutions are right there before our eyes in many cases, but we have people in the political class that until Trump came along just didn't get it. They didn't understand that we weren't two opposing parties, Republican and Democrat, just arguing about policies. We were a Republican Party versus a domestic enemy intent on destroying our country, and had spread its tentacles throughout every institution of culture. And it's very depressing to see that and to see how deeply it's entrenched the financial system, education system, media, Hollywood, everywhere. So one of the first things I say, if I didn't have any hope, I wouldn't keep doing this. So that's number one. And number two, I say, we are really far down the line. And since we are having successes, the left is going to become more angry, more violent, and more dangerous because they see that we are turning back the clock. We are dialing them back and having success slowly, not as fast as we would like, but the momentum is there. So I do see hope. The very first thing I say in the conclusion is pray. Pray for our country. Ask for forgiveness for our country because we have fallen so far away from God's will for us. Pray for us. Ask for God's help. Ask for God's forgiveness because in many ways, I think some of the things that have happened and many of the things that have happened, Trump avoiding assassination, things like that, these were all the hand of God. And so I think in a certain sense, we need a supernatural force to help us win this because, as you say, we are so far down the road. But then, along with that, there are literally hundreds of things we as individuals or collectively can do. And I'm obviously not going to go through that list. People are going to have to buy my book to read it. Yep. But it's there. It's there. There are things we can do as everyday citizens and many things we can do. Some of them don't even require we get out of our seat. Just stop watching certain things on TV. Stop subscribing to idiotic magazines and newspapers that just report garbage or disinformation at best. And so there's many things that we can do. And I'm going to have a pretty complete list of the things in those concluding pages.
All right, excellent. So folks, you can go to Amazon, get Jim's book. You can go to theunitedwest.org. I'm going to ask you two guys to tell the folks how they can get in touch with you. Claire, how can people get in touch with you then, Jim?
Well, the best way is probably social media, but also some of the websites, certainly theunitedwest.org, also Citizens Commission on National Security, also Near East Center for Strategic Engagement, also American Truth Project. I'm on Twitter at Claire M. Lopez. I'm on Facebook, my name as well, Claire Lopez on Facebook. I'm at Clarecho, CLARECHO on Truth Social, and I'm at Lopez Liberty on Telegram. Come look me up, follow me.
Excellent. And Jim, how can the good folks reach you?
Well, on Facebook, I have a page, James Simpson. On my Twitter or X account, rather, I have at James M. Simpson. My website is crisisnow.net, which is basically an archive of all my articles plus links to the Amazon page for my author page at Amazon.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're wrapping it up now. We'll have to do another segment, but Claire, Jim, I think we all have been doing this a long time, and we live, as you laid out, Jim, in this tension of despair. Things are so bad, but hope things could be better. And the three of us have had a calling to this. We can't walk away from it. It's our calling. And we're fighting for our kids and for the next generation and all of this. But we need others. We need others. And maybe Charlie Kirk's death is an inspiration for others to make a commitment like Claire did and spent 20 years of her life floating around the world trying to protect Americans, and Jim working in the White House trying to help the government. So there's a lot of hope, ladies and gentlemen. Go to theunitedwest.org, read about our campaign in New York to stop Zohran Mamdani. He's going to win, and we're going to put out some videos in the near future about the disaster that's going to happen in New York City. Until we meet again, folks, have a wonderful day. Claire, you keep talking. Jim, you keep writing, and America will be better for the work both of you guys do. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks a lot.